In this episode, Colonel Valley and Madby set a new jet altitude record. Kerburry uses Kerbal attachment system to secure some new living space, and I take another shot at explaining transfer window planner. All of this and more is coming up right now. Alright, so what the plan is here is in just over 42 days, I have me a Kerbin to EVE to Jool window coming up. I've been working the last couple of episodes in order to work up enough science to get the antennas that are required in order for us to be able to communicate all the way out to Jool. Now my job is, well, to build this thing and to launch it. So that's going to be the goal for this episode, and there's going to be probably, well, undoubtedly some other things going on as well. But before I can build those antennas, well, thanks to Kerbal construction time, I actually have to wait for them to be unlocked. The first node coming up here is advanced electronics, and another 2 days, 2 hours to electronics, and that's the one I want. That's the one that gives me my antennas, and then it's going to be building time. Okay, let's explain this monstrosity, and this isn't going to be the probe. I just started slapping together everything that I'm going to need. So number one is I need the Communitron HG61 in order to communicate with Jool, and not just one, not just two, but as you can see, I need 3 of them. But what became readily apparent right away is what's going to be a limiting factor with this probe is electricity. Because if I go to electrical, my only means of generation are solar panels and fuel cells. That's it. I would kill right now for an RTG, but I have yet to unlock them. The solar panels, because of the inverse square law, really become very ineffectual as you move out towards Jool. I started working out how many solar panels I was going to need, and the best ones I have are things like this one, the Ox-4L, which generate, what do they generate here? 1.6. I don't have the Gigantors or anything like that. And yeah, you need like way more than I'm willing to stick onto this probe in order to run the experiments. Also, because of the electricity needs, when I got into looking at science and taking a look at, for instance, the scanners like the SCANsat altimeter and the multispectral analyzer, their electrical usage 1 per second and 6 per, especially this one, the multispectral analyzer was too much. Also, when I get out to Jool, my plan is going to be really just to kind of fly by things, not necessarily end up in too much of an orbit. So I'm not sure how much science I was going to pull out of it anyway. So when it came to science, I ended up with, let's see, we'll go to the probe core. When the probe core, we're running the telemetry report and the light experiment. I'm going to start with, oh no, we can start with them on. That's okay. We also have here the 2-hot thermometer, and we have a Geiger counter for measuring radiation, which actually should generate a lot of science for me, because when you're in around Jool, Jool has to have a magnetic field. I've not checked, but I have to assume it has to have a massive magnetic field because Jupiter does. And once you're into the magnetic field, you get all of these like inner belts, outer belts, magnetic spheres. There's much more radiation stuff for you to collect. So that is going to be, I think, a lot of science for me. But again, the main thing is going to be electricity. So this is going to be my plan. I have a pair of these Ox-4W320s. We'll move things around a little bit. Those are going to be just to run communications. There are enough, actually they're more than enough, simply to run communications, but not any of the experiments. So when it comes time to run the experiments, what I have up here are a pair of fuel cells. There's one on each side. That will generate enough electricity to run all the experiments and, more importantly, do all the transmitting as well. And I put enough monopropellant and oxygen to run these fuel cells for an hour. So I'm going to have to be particular about when I choose to run my experiments and try and maximize the amount of gain. So for the most part, this is going to be idle until we get actually into Jool's SOI, and then we're going to turn it on, and then it's gonna do its thing. The monoprop, the fuel cell, by the way, is configurable. You can change it between monopropellant and hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen-oxygen fuel cell generates way more electricity than what I need, so that's why I'm going with the monopropellant. So, which only generates half a unit of electric charge per second, which is enough to run all the experiments and do all the transmitting. So now what I need to do is put this into some sort of a configuration that looks decent. As well, I need to build a little rocket for it so it will be able to get itself out to Jool. Now, as far as budgets go, let's open up Alarm Clock and take a look at my window here. So this is my Kerbin to Eve window, and I require an ejection burn of 1,449.2 meters per second. I call that just 1,450 for all practical purposes. We don't have to worry about the normal component of this because I plan on putting myself into an appropriately inclined orbit. And it's kind of interesting. I'll try and talk about this a little bit more detail when we go to launch this thing at the end of the video. As I go around searching videos for using Transfer Window Planner, I've never seen anybody do it my way. Everybody I've seen puts their probe into, or whatever it is they're doing the interplanetary transfer with, into an equatorial orbit about Kerbin for its parking orbit, and then they put both in the prograde component and the normal component of the burn to create the ejection burnout to where they want to go. But you don't need this normal component if you simply put yourself into an appropriately inclined parking orbit, and I'm a little bit surprised nobody does it. Now here the inclination of my parking orbit only needs to be 3.3 degrees, which is pretty minor, but for other injections it's much more. Like my one out to Eve, my stupid one, is it has a 20 degree injection. Anyway, the second part of this though is to fly by Eve and head out towards Jool. Now in order to get my capture at Eve, which I'm not going to do, but I do need this number, it's going to be 1,576 meters per second. But in order to get from Eve to Jool at that time, which is this one here, to eject from Eve to Jool requires 2,625 meters per second. So I'm going to need to give myself a little bit of an extra oomph when I'm at Eve in order to get enough energy into my resulting orbit in order to get out to Jool, and I just simply subtracted those two numbers to get 1,049 meters per second. Adding these two requirements up gives me a 2,500 meters per second, but that's with no area really of wiggle room, much of it at all. And once I'm in the Jool system, I really want to try and see if I can take advantage of some gravity assists and some maneuvers to try and get myself around as many of Jool's moons as I can for all the science that I can. So what I ended up doing is just adding on about an extra 1,500 meters per second. So what I want to do is give this thing about 4 kilometers per second of delta V. And as mentioned, you will be seeing this towards the end of the episode for its inaugural launch. But right now, we got some other missions to perform. All right, here, so we have the Panther Mark II, pilot Colonel Valley, and we have a co-pilot, Madby. And this is pretty much the same thing you saw me testing a couple of episodes ago. The only thing I've done is added on lights. Let's do that. Lighter up. There we go, because you got to have your lights going. And I also scienced it up a little bit with the wing experiment and the appropriate number of batteries to store the wing experiment. What we're going to do is we're going to collect that over the desert. Remember, this is an experiment. You need to be flying at an altitude below 6 kilometers, but you need to spend about, I can't remember, 20 minutes or something like that. We do have, though, a couple of contracts that we're going to accomplish first. Number one is to achieve a speed of Mach 2, that is 686 meters per second. With some provisos, you have to be, well, below 20 kilometers, and you do have to have a vertical speed of no less than 10 meters per second. You can't, like, just drop to achieve this one. And then our second contract is to achieve an altitude of 20 kilometers, which I know this thing can do. So we're going to take off the brakes, we're going to put on our SAS, we're going to throttle up, put our view on chase, and punch it. We are off. Bring up the landing gear. I do like this plane. We're going to flip it around because we are going to fly the other way. And our first job is going to be to achieve that speed, but let's get up to a decent altitude. I do really like this plane. I got a feeling over the next little while you're going to be seeing it a fair bit. It should have decent range. Yeah, it's got almost 40 kilometers per second of delta V, which means I should be able to do things like take it to the poles and stuff like that. It's also easy to sort of, because I have the 4 crew cabins, so I can start turning this into a high velocity passenger plane by starting to take out, you know, probably make it longer, but start putting in crew cabins there. It should be, these parts should be pretty versatile for me for the immediate future. Okay, let's hit the afterburners. Of course, its party trick is that it can do that. So we need to get to a speed of 686 meters per second. That should not be a problem. You should really keep monitoring these engines. And what you want to see is that you're always building that thrust. As you gain speed, you should be building thrust. And if you find yourself that the thrust isn't building anymore, then you'll probably want to pitch down a little bit. But we're almost at our required speed here. Oh, I gotta level off. Forgot about that piece of it. We're definitely at our required speed. I can reduce throttle with that. I gotta bring down that vertical speed. We're down below 10 meters per second. We got to hold this for at least 5 seconds. Oh, what's going on now? No, it's crept back up again. Come on. Reduce throttle. Dude, we are done, and we got to go back to the spaceplane hangar. So that one is done. This one is to get up to 20 kilometers, and I think that's all I got to do. So we're going to pitch back up again. We're going to throttle up again. And again, I want to keep watching this thrust indicator. Let's just cut all the engines. We'll just coast from here on in. Probably don't need that anymore. There, we're over 20. And again, we just got to land back at the KSC to complete both of these 2 contracts. So that should take care of that. Alright, and now, well, we are over the deserts more or less. Way too much over. We got to get ourselves below 6 kilometers. But then that wing experiment should kick in. And then that's just flying around in circles until the wing experiment is done. You know, stock really should have some sort of accessible science archive like this during missions, so that you're not stumbling through the science all the time and popping back and forth to check the archive in the Research and Development Center. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. I mean, the Science Alert mod also has a nice science archive, but that would certainly make life easier, less fumbling about. Oh, the hard drive is full. Ah, poopy pants. Wow, I thought it could do a whole... I thought I maybe didn't upgrade the hard drive. I think I forgot to upgrade the hard drive. Shoot, so this is going to take a little longer. Okay, so when I bring this back, I'll have to make sure to upgrade the hard drive. How big's the hard drive on this thing? 32 megabytes. I thought that should be enough. One thing I learned, I should definitely do this too, is that the Kerbal Engineer chips can be used as additional hard drive space. Not to use them for the Kerbal Engineer bit, because actually now that I have a Tier 3 tracking station, this comes automatically now all the time. I don't need to put the chips on my vessels, but I might just start putting the chips on my vessels just for the hard drive. as this clearly demonstrates, I need it. No, no, it says here the wing experiment is 38 megabytes of data. Okay. We'll definitely be adding some hard drive space. And we are done. Right. Okay, we are done. We're heading back. Okay, and that should count as green there. And this one? Uh-oh. Not have any oxidizer aboard. Do I have oxidizer aboard? Do I really have oxidizer aboard? Ah! That was done by mistake. Oh my gosh. I didn't notice this. So it says not have any oxidizer, and this bicoupler thing has oxidizer in it that I really shouldn't even have on there. It's not using it at all. Oh, how frustrating. Alright, I'll take that. That was my oversight. The lawyers got me again. I do have the new smaller engineer chip, finally. Even though for Kerbal Engineer it's completely not necessary. But if we take a look at this, you can see already it has 6.4 megabytes of hard drive space, and you can pump that up to how much? Almost 26. So you can, and of course it's hardly any, I don't know how much mass that added on. Like, this thing's only 5 kilograms to begin with. And does that change mass at all? It does. So bigger hard drives do add a bit of mass on there, but not a lot. So that now takes care of hard drive space. There is enough hard drive space on this plane to hold 2 wing experiments, which is just super. Alright. And this is a new HAB module for Kerbin Station on this very scary looking booster. And we'll take a good look at that. Look at it very, very shortly. To be quite honest, I have forgotten a lot of what it looks like because it was so long ago I built this thing. It's been sitting in a hangar bay for quite some time. We were doing other things. But it's obviously on its way to Kerbin Station. We're going to do some docking. We're going to do some KAS strutting. But not strutting more than guy wires. I'm really looking forward to how those work. I know I did put those on there. So it's looking like it's going to lose all 6 of these SRDs all at the same time. Obviously I need them all just to produce the necessary thrust. There they go. Oh, no Separatrons. That was quite acrobatic. The way they came off there. I didn't even put Separatrons on there. Gosh, I'm going to be lazy sometimes. And now, what are we on? We're on... Oh, these are the Kodiak. 3 Kodiak engines. And this new payload will improve. I think it doubles the living space that's in the station. As well, it finally brings up proper scrubbers and pressure control, which the station has had some issues with. Okay, we should be getting fairing separation pretty soon, and we'll get a good look at this. Oh, nope, sorry. We lost that stage first. Staging fair. Oh, yes! Oh, I know. Why did that happen? Okay, hang on. 5. There we go. Okay, we're good. We're good. I've been taking the fairings out of the staging and putting the fairing on an action group and having the script activate the action group, because sometimes it gets confused with staging stages and doing the fairing. But I'm not quite sure what went wrong there, but I don't think anything that's anywhere untoward. We can take a look here at this thing. Let's aim our camera. We have obviously 2 hitchhiker cans, got some laddery parts along the side here. These are these nice long laddery parts. I think that's part of the restock mod, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of nice. Instead of having to put all those little tiny steps, you can just click them on like that. Lights, we have a storage container, which will... No, it probably won't open. It's got pressure control and junk in there. Other than that, that looks like about it. It has now the bigger Clampetron docking ports, so that will be nice. So I'll have to design a ship that can dock with those, but at this end, of course, it has just the Clampetron Junior because that's all that's on the station right now, so that's how we're going to have to attach it. But the thing I'm most interested in are these guys, these portable cable bracings from Kerbal Attachment System. I'm really curious how that's all going to work for me. You can see the judicious use of struts here to strengthen all this up. Good, good, good. But we can now lose our booster. I'm not going to take that. Got a lot of fuel in it, but I'm not going to take it with me. So let's stage that. Let's think about where we're going to put this thing. So control this from here. See if we can get to here. Yeah, aim the camera. Let's put it opposite to where the palm is. I think so. So right here. And while we watch this approach, I'd like to welcome aboard our newest patron, Kim. Thank you, Kim, for your support. It is very much appreciated. And for those that are interested, patrons comes with early and ad-free access to these videos, as well as access to all of my craft and KOS files. And if you don't want to go that far, why not just hit that subscribe button and maybe even the notification bell? Stop being a slave to the YouTube algorithm and make sure that you won't miss any of these episodes. But in the meantime, we are closing in. Perfect. Okay. RCS is off. Let's toggle this torque before things start going badly. Toggle torque way down here. Should have had that set. Okay, that's disabled. Alright. We are docked. I think that looks acceptable. I think so. Let's shut down this engine here before I thrust accidentally. I think it looks good. Looks good, looks good, looks good. These lights are shining. Oh, I should have tilted them more this way. I can sort of see that now, but it's okay. It's okay. Right now, I think what I need to do is get our engineer Kerburry, who's going to come out, and then we'll equip her wrench so she has it in her hand, ready to be used. And now what we got to do is figure out how these cables work. Now, I'm going to quick save here, in case I do something catastrophically wrong, because I really am not sure what I'm doing. These are the cables, and then there are these connectors. These are cable hooks. So you need to have the cable on one end and then the hook on the other, and then you somehow run the cable over. That's how this is supposed to work. Well, let's grab a hook. So we should be able to... How do you do this again? She's got the wrench equipped. H. Detach. On the hatch or something. Okay. A little bit closer to the action now. Now here we are. This is what I want. H. Detach. I think I got it. I do not have it. Maybe I can reach this. Let's see. Or wait, have I? Oh, these are detached. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. I was detaching them and then they're floating about. There's one there. Can I grab that one? Alright, now it's making more sense. So I was detaching them and then I had to grab them. Okay, so we got tons of these little parts now. Let's see if we can make one of these work. So, what we are gonna do... Oh, what the... Okay, see what I talked about quick saving in case I did something catastrophic? I think somehow I have detached the whole module here. Oh my gosh, a Kerbo with a wrench is a dangerous thing. Detach and grab. So just G for grab. Put that in your inventory. There we go. That was a lot cleaner. And then we're going to grab this one. Put it there. Excellent. So now, she's going to move down just a little bit. She's going to attach the cable to about here. And again, it's H to attach and click. This is going much, much more cleanly. And then we're going to take our cable hook and attach, grab that, attach that. I'm going to make a nice angle here. Maybe over here on the other side of the flag. So H and attach. Okay. And then somehow we should be able to get a guy wire. If we right click on this. Link. And then we click to here. Look at that! That's a beautiful thing. So that's like a guy wire attaching those two. And that should stiffen this all up. Well, once I get a few more of these on. I got 3 of them. I love me my space construction. Link, and we will link. I'm pretty happy with that. I like it. And that should be pretty stiff. We'll put it to the test and we'll reorient the station. And what I want to do is I want to build a bunch of these and just basically build like a ring of these all around here. Really increase the volume of this. But that is looking pretty happy. And probably extend this way. Okay, let's test the reorientation of this. So if I just do a rotate. If I rotate this, that is way. And now I'm actually torquing the other way. Yeah, that is nice and stiff there now, which is exactly what I want. I think if those struts weren't there, it would be much more wonky. Now, the only scrubber that was on the station was actually in the docked spacecraft, the Palm 1B. That happened because of a funky glitch that turned my previous scrubbers into water recyclers. But having just a single scrubber for the whole station, probably not a really good plan. So one of the things this thing brought up was some additional scrubbers that are now in that module. And of course the scrubber, what it does is remove the carbon dioxide from the air, which obviously is a good thing. But the other thing it brought up was a couple of containers. I got this wastewater container here, there's 2 of them, and ammonia containers, again 2 of them as well, because with all the water recyclers, and the water recycler takes that wastewater and makes potable water. So let's turn on all the water recyclers. There we go. No, I'm not it. So we're going to turn on all the water recyclers. It should start taking that wastewater, making potable water. It's the water recycler that produces the ammonia. And then there's something I can do with the ammonia that I've completely forgotten about. So while our recycler is creating ammonia for us, and hopefully some nice drinking water for these folks, the Kerpollo 5 was returning from Minmus, where last episode it really hauled in the science for us, transmitted a lot of it away, but still is carrying several hundred, at least a few hundred science units of samples aboard. And this is almost certainly going to be the last flight of the Kerpollo, though I did think that for the last one. I really much prefer not these kind of one-off vessels. What I much prefer to do is just have sort of a ferry that would live at Kerbin Station, get fueled up, be able to go to the moon, be able to go to Minmus, and you would have something in orbit around there with a lander, perhaps a station, perhaps just the lander itself. And then you would go, dock with the lander, take the lander down, lander comes back up, the lander can be refueled, ship comes back. To me, that's a much more cost-effective way of mining the science out of the moon and Minmus, much like NASA's Artemis project. That seems to be their plan for re-exploring the moon. Anyway, yeah, 396 science here, but I'm noticing this doesn't match here. Oh, that's the greens. Oh my god, there's a ton. It's both of these added together. Oh my golly golly. So a ton of science, up to 561 science I got now. Awesome. Hearts. And everybody goes up a level. Actually, Hadus and Bill each went... Was Bill already level... Bill might have been level 1. Hadus went up 2 levels. Jeb went up a level. Nice. But I think with that done, I really just want to build my Keriners and get to this window just jump ahead and do it. I do want to look at Kerbin Station and make sure that none of my... They have tons and tons... Oh, they only have 34 days of oxygen left? Ah! Shoot! Shoot, shoot, shoot! How did... Okay. We need more oxygen. Let's get to our supply barge. We gotta push out one of those. Damn these Kerbals for breathing. Okay, and launch of our supply barge. Most importantly, bringing up several thousand units of oxygen. How much oxygen am I bringing up there? I am bringing up, where is it here? 6,240 units of oxygen. I know the station can hold 7,000 more to get it right up, so it won't quite top up the station, but we'll be pretty close. And you've seen this exact lifter before, so this is nothing new. And let's face it, I want to get to our next EVE launch, so this is something that just simply isn't that important, so we'll get it over with pretty quickly. Well, I mean, it's important in the sense that I don't want my Kerbals to die, but it's not that exciting to watch, let's just say that way. Oh, and I have fixed that issue that was in my launch script where it didn't stage the fairing. It was just I wasn't calling the action group right. So now at 50 kilometers, we should be getting... Boom. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Let's get back on prograde. We're not done. Oh, come on. Come on. The program's ended. There we go. I was trying to recover, but I needed the engine. Where's our... Okay, we're good. We're good. Oh, no, more thrust. Come on. I'm all turned upside downy here. There we are. Okay. Reduce the thrust. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Thankfully, that happened really high in the atmosphere. And the script aborted, which was good. I'll explain what kind of happened there. We're okay. We're okay. We're good. We're good. We're good. Should easily still have enough fuel because we were so high in the atmosphere. I don't think we really lost too much. So what happened there? The force of the ejection of those fairings knocked it off course, and then the script noticed the loss of control and aborted. But then there was, of course, nothing controlling the ship at all, so I had to... Could have been a little quicker on the draw there, I think. The reaction wheels weren't enough to get back in control, but once I fired up the engine and there's gimbling on that engine, I was able to get it back onto that prograde vector. So we're all good. Everything's fine. Okay, there we go. So that is now docked. And you know what? We'll deal with stowing away all the stuff that's on here later. What I want to do right now is get to our EVE launch. Alright, so here it is, the Keriner 2, getting all kinds of message about something else. Keriner 2, which the whole plan is to fire this, get around EVE, get a bit of a boost around EVE, and then head on off to Jool. That is the plan. Now, I do have, using the transfer window planner, this all kind of set up. And I don't think I've used this now a couple of times, and I don't think I've really explained it too terribly well. So I'm going to try to see if I can explain this a little better, because I do it differently than every other... I've gone on YouTube and seen, what do other people do with window transfer window planner? And I'm doing something very different. Everybody else I've seen puts themselves into an equatorial parking orbit and then does the ejection burn. And they do the ejection burn using this much prograde, 1,449.2 meters per second prograde, and this much normal, right? But burning anything else but prograde, if you can help it, is an inefficient thing. You want to try and make as much of your burn prograde as you can. Now here, because the amount of normal compared to the amount of prograde is very, very little, it doesn't make a big difference, but I'm going to do it the way I do it anyway. You can get the normal component of this ejection delta V by putting yourself into an appropriately inclined orbit. And the stats here even tell you what inclination you need. I need, oh, that's the insertion, I need the ejection inclination of 3.3 degrees. Okay, so what that means is I need to be ejecting myself from Kerbin at an angle of 3.3 degrees north of Kerbin's equatorial plane. So if I put myself into an orbit with an inclination of 3.3 degrees, that will take care of that if I put myself into the appropriate orbit. So how do I know the appropriate orbit? Well, if we take a look at the ejection angle, show the ejection angle. Here it is right there. There's our ejection angle. Our ejection angle is, where is it here? 56.65 degrees to retrograde. Retrograde is the direction Kerbin is not moving. Let's talk about this. Is the prograde vector for Kerbin. That's the direction it is moving in its orbit about the sun. So opposite to that is the retrograde vector, and we want to perform our ejection burn 56.65 degrees before we get to that. So our ejection burn is going to start about here. However, that is not where we want to launch. This is the mistake I made last time. Although I want to do my burn here, I want it to be going up at an angle of 33.3 degrees, and by up I mean towards the north. So that means I need to be in an inclined orbit with the equatorial ascending node here and the equatorial descending node here, 90 degrees from this ejection angle line. Now, this is actually pretty easy to work out because this here is sunset, right? This retrograde line is sunset. That's when the sun is going down, and the prograde line is sunrise. So we need to let me move all this. We need to do our ejection 56.65 degrees before sunset. Now here's where things work out really nicely. Kerbin has an orbital period of 6 hours. An hour, of course, is 60 minutes. 6 times 6, that's 360 minutes to do a complete rotation, which is also the angle 360 degrees to do a complete rotation. So that means there's a direct correlation between the number of degrees and the number of minutes. So not only does this have to be 56.65 degrees before sunset, it needs to be 56.65 minutes before sunset. And sunset on Kerbin occurs at 1:13. Sunrise occurs at 4:13. So we need to subtract 56.65 minutes from our sunset time of 1:13, but that's not when we launch. Remember, we want to launch at one of the equatorial nodes, and that's going to be 90 minutes on either side of that time. We get 2 possible launch times. And somebody suggested, why don't you write yourself a little app for that? And that is exactly what I did. So I'll just show it to you right here. This is the easiest thing in the world. So I'm already forgetting my ejection angle. My ejection angle is 56.65 degrees. So all I got to do here is type, I got to switch to 0. So the archive. I have a program called launch time. So I'm going to run launch time. And it takes as a parameter what your ejection angle is. Interestingly enough, it doesn't matter whether these times will be independent whether it's to prograde or to retrograde. You can draw this out for you and do yourself a little bit of geometry if you don't trust me. I'm putting in the wrong number. 6.5. Not that would make too much of a difference. But it doesn't matter if it's to prograde or to retrograde. Hit that, and it's telling me that I should launch at either 1:46 or 4:46. So if I go to here, it is now 4:56. So I just missed my one launch window by about 10 minutes. Have I talked for 10 minutes? Probably not. So what I need to do is I need to go to 1:46. Now 1:46, if I go to here, close these details. 1:46, let's see, our first, where are we? We're here. We just missed a window according to this. Yeah, that makes sense. We're just past 90 degrees. So 1:46 is going to be in the night. What do I want? I want this. So it needs to be 146 towards the north. Yes, so that needs to be into a positive, not 146. What's my inclination? Oh my lordy lord. Inclination of 3.3 degrees. So I need to be 3.3 degrees towards the north at 146. That will get me what I want. And I only have it accurate to the nearest minute. I think that is perfectly accurate enough. 4, 5, and we'll do it right around 30 seconds or so. There we go. Hit it. We'll see how this does. I botched this last time, so hopefully this time I will not. The booster at least should look familiar. This is the, these are Reliance on the bottom, I believe. Yes, the Reliant 3 booster. It's got a Terrier engine hid in there somewhere for the upper stage part of it. This is the exact same booster that this Palm 1B, my LKO little fairy. Alright, let's see how we did. So, we should be able to... Now you can see how this inclination thing works. See how this is like to the south? So that when you're coming up this way, you're going to the north. But we should be putting our burn right about here. And hopefully this burn should be... Where's our thingy? On the prograde thingy. 1,449.2. Can't promise to be that accurate, but... And bop. And there is our burn. And this should be getting us an encounter, hopefully, with Minmus. Or with Eve. Look at that! Look at that. I haven't even set Eve as a target yet. Look at that! There is my encounter with Eve. I think I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. I don't think I'm going to touch a bloody thing. I'm perfectly happy with that. We'll do some sort of correction for sure once we are outside of Kerbin's SOI, and we'll use that to tweak, hopefully get a second burn that will have to happen at Eve to boost our orbit enough to get it out to Jool. We'll see how it goes. I am not making any promises. I know that part of it is, you know, I've not had the best track record. I'm 0 for 1 on that piece of it when I tried to do the same thing for Moho, but I'm really happy. Oh, the sun's come up. Why don't we take a look at our probe while we get this all set up here. So here we go. Here's our little probe. Let's... Oh no, the camera's in a good spot. Yeah. So it has all the bits in it that I was showing earlier in the VAB. I colored these tanks a little bit. So this is oxygen, and that is more oxygen, and then we got monoprop back here, and that is purely for running these two fuel cells, because when we get out towards Jool, solar electricity is going to be at a premium. I did look at how many of these, which still are my best solar panels, ones like these, how many did I need in order to... I didn't even work them all out because it became really obvious really quickly that it would have been an impractical number of solar panels it would have required to be able to power all the experiments on solar. So instead I have these two monoprop fuel cells that are run on monoprop and oxygen. In order to do it, I have enough resources on board to run them for an hour. Will it be enough? I hope so. We won't be finding out for quite some time. Other than that, what else do I have to show? What is actually... There's so many cool little structural parts. They're unfortunately hidden under here so much. But like, there are these little girder pieces, and you can switch them between rectangular shapes or triangular shapes. I went triangular because everything was... Most of these things are on like three-way symmetry. It made it nice for mounting like these lights. And there's this nice... Oh, I wish I could show... I got to get in the VAB and just show it to you more. I think that would be a worthwhile thing to do. And like here, these are just the simple cubic strut, but it's got a setting that it comes off like just planar, I think was the name of this setting. Look at that. That's nice, just for putting a solar panel on. So I love all these little tiny structural bits. I think that is just delightful. Other than that, I don't know. Not a heck of a lot to talk about, really. Big ass can of fuel and a little pug engine. Should be able to get the job done. To and off. We are on our way to Eve. This is going to be just over a 4-minute burn, so it's going to take us a little while. And we'll be seeing this thing exiting Kerbin's sphere of influence for sure next episode, and then we'll find out, you know, how am I gonna, is it gonna do the thing I want it to do and get itself out to Jool? I'm sure one way or another we'll manage to finagle this thing onto Jool. It's got quite a lot of extra Delta V in it, but all of that is going to have to be for a future episode. In the meantime, I thank you for watching and hope to see you again next time.